The Lost Mile Marker. A trucker's true ghost story. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story is something that's stuck with me for years, not because it was just creepy or strange, but because it actually happened. I've been a long-haul truck driver for nearly 20 years, and what I'm about to tell y'all took place back in 2014, somewhere out in the deep stretches of New Mexico. You're the kind of person who believes that some roads never forget. This one's for you. So buckle up, turn off the lights, maybe don't listen to this alone. It was the second week of July, and I was running a night route from El Paso, Texas to Flagstaff, Arizona. I'd driven that route plenty of times before, straight shot up I-10. Then weaving north on US Route 191. You get used to the patterns out there, the flat, endless desert, the glowing sky, and that warm, dry wind that taps against your window like it's trying to get in. That particular night started off normal enough. I just fueled up at a Love's off the I-10 around 9 p.m. and grabbed a black coffee and a bag of beef jerky for the road. My dispatcher radioed in, said I had to make a slight detour due to some accident further up on 191. He told me to take a side road, an old highway, barely used anymore, called County Route 371. Now, this is where things started feeling. I'd never been on 371 before, and honestly, it didn't even show up properly on my GPS. Just a thin, gray line slicing through a patch of nothing. But the dispatcher swore it'd shave off at least 30 minutes of drive time. I figured, what the hell, I've driven in worse. What I didn't realize was that this road wasn't just some forgotten highway. It was something else. The moment I turned onto 371, I felt it. The road narrowed immediately, barely enough space for my Peterbilt to breathe. My headlights barely reached past 20 feet, and both sides of the road were swallowed up by thick desert brush and the occasional crooked tree. No streetlights, no signs, just this winding black ribbon leading me deeper into the dark. About 10 miles in, my CB crackled. I figured maybe another trucker was in the area, so I keyed in and asked, "Breaker 19, anyone out on 371? Static." Then, a voice, clear as day, came through. A man's voice, scratchy and low, like it hadn't been used in years. He said, "Ain't no turning back now, boy." I slammed the brake just enough to slow the rig down, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked around, nothing but the night. No headlights, no taillights, no sign of another soul. I replied, "Who is this? You messing with me?" Nothing, just static again. Now, truckers like me, we've heard all kinds of CB chatter. Pranksters, late-night jokers, even the occasional drunk rancher. But this didn't feel like that. There was a weight to that voice. Something wrong. I kept driving, but another 20 minutes down the road, my GPS completely froze. The map screen turned white and then just blinked out. My phone had no service, and even the digital clock on the dash started to flicker, like it was losing power. I slowed the truck and checked my gauges. Everything read normal, fuel, oil, voltage, all good. So why did it feel like I'd stepped into some kind of void? Then I saw it. Off to the right side of the road, maybe 100 feet out in the desert brush, was a figure, just standing there. I'm not talking about a shadow or some animal. This was a man. He's tall, thin, wearing what looked like an old denim jacket and a wide-brim hat. I thought maybe he was a rancher or a drifter. But when I flicked my high beams toward him, he didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. He was just staring at me. I pressed the horn long and loud. Nothing. Then, slowly, I started moving again. And that's when it hit. Meath, there was no mile marker. None. I'd passed at least 30 miles and hadn't seen a single one. Not a sign, not a post. Just this endless stretch of cursed highway. I drove on, trying to shake it. I kept telling myself I was tired, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But then, something else happened. Thump. Just once. Heavy, like someone dropped a boot. I spun around fast, and for a split second I saw something. It ducked down before I could fully catch it, just a glimpse of a pale face and hollow eyes. I grabbed the flashlight from my door and shined it back there. Nothing. That's just my duffel bag and an old coffee thermos rolling on the floor. I should have turned around right then and there. I knew it. Every instinct in my body was screaming to get off that road, but I didn't, because I thought maybe I was losing it. Maybe I was just overtired. I wish that had been the case. It wasn't long before I reached what looked like a fork in the road. No sign, no indicators, just two paths. One veering slightly right, the other continuing straight. The GPS was still dead, and the truck's compass was spinning like crazy. As I slowed down to make a choice, I noticed something in my headlights, a mile marker. It read mile 63. Now here's the Think County route. 371 doesn't even go to 63 miles. It cuts off around 45. I checked the map earlier that day. So why the hell was I seeing mile marker 63? I rolled down the window to look closer, and that's when I heard whispering coming from the brush. Whispers. Dozens of voices. And whispering my name. Logan. Logan. I'd never told anyone out there my name. Not the dispatcher. Not the guy it loves. Nobody. I slammed the gas. Took the right fork without thinking. The road narrowed even more, like it didn't want me to leave. And that's when the radio turned back on. Not the CB. The radio, which had been dead since I got on that road, started playing an old country song. Something about dying on the highway. Then the voice came back. Only this time it wasn't on the CB. It was behind me. Mile 63 is where you die, son. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight. My vision blurred. But I kept driving. I didn't stop. Not for anything. And then I saw lights. Bright ones, flickering red and blue. A patrol car. I pulled over so fast the tires screeched, nearly jackknifed the trailer. A state trooper walked up to my window, tapping it with a flashlight. I rolled it down, nearly sobbing, and said, "Please, get me off this road." The trooper looked at me strange, then said, "You're on Route 191. Been on it for a few miles now." I blinked. "What? No. I was on 371. He shook his head. "You must have taken a wrong turn somewhere, but you're back on the main highway now. You all right?" I nodded, barely. He told me to rest at the next truck stop, which was only 5 minutes ahead. I pulled into the lot, heart still racing. My phone suddenly buzzed back to life. Time said 4:17 a.m. I checked my dash cam footage to make sense of it. Maybe I'd hallucinated the whole thing, but the footage was corrupted. It's just static from the time I turned onto 371 until I reached that patrol car. No record of the road, no record of the mile marker, no record of him. Just static. I asked around the next day. Was talked to some of the older drivers at the truck stop. One guy, a weathered old-timer named Rick, said, "Son, you ran across mile 63. I asked him what he meant. He said, "There's an old legend. Back in the 60s, a driver named Hank Deacon ran his rig off a cliff on that very route. Some say he still haunts the road, luring drivers onto a stretch that shouldn't exist. Call it the Lost Mile. No GPS works there, no signal, and if you reach mile 63, well," he trailed off. I asked what happened to those who did. He just said, "You got lucky. I've never taken that route again. I don't even drive through New Mexico if I can help it." And I still hear it sometimes. When I'm parked alone on an overnight haul, a faint whisper, like wind in the trees. "Logan, Logan." Like something out there is still looking for me, still waiting for me to come back. So if you're ever out there, late at night, and someone tells you to take a shortcut down County Route 371, don't never stop at mile 63. If you enjoyed this story and want more real-life encounters from the road, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And remember, some roads aren't meant to be driven. Drive safe, y'all. The rain that wouldn't stop, a trucker's real horror story. Tonight's story is one I've never told anyone in full, not because I didn't want to, but because even saying it out loud makes my skin crawl. I've been a long-haul trucker for about 12 years. What happened to me on a rain-slick highway in West Virginia still makes me question what's real and what's waiting in the dark when no one else is around. This isn't just a ghost story. This is a warning. It was the tail end of October. Rain season had hit hard, and I was running a route from Charleston, West Virginia up toward Wheeling. If you've ever driven Highway 20 through the mountain stretches at night, you know how rough that ride can be. Curvy, isolated, and full of blind spots. Add some freezing rain and fog to that, and you've got a road that feels more like a trap than a path. That night, it was coming down in sheets. The kind of rain that drowns out your radio and makes you grip the wheel like it's your last lifeline. My rig's wipers were slapping back and forth at full speed, but they could barely keep up. Visibility was maybe 30 feet at best, and even my high beams just reflected back a white wall of mist and water. Around 11:30 p.m., I passed a green sign that read, "Welcome to Hollow Creek County." Never heard of it. Might check my GPS, there was no such place listed. Odd, but I figured maybe it was just an old sign for a region that got renamed. That kind of thing happens out in the sticks. 10 minutes later, I saw a figure on the side of the road. It was a woman, soaking wet, barefoot. She had long dark hair stuck to her face, and she was wearing this tattered white nightgown that clung to her like a second skin. She wasn't hitchhiking. She wasn't even waving. She just stood there on the shoulder, staring straight into my headlights like she didn't even care if she got hit. I swerved a little to avoid her and laid on the horn. She didn't flinch, didn't move an inch. I looked in my side mirror as I passed. She was gone, just gone. Not walking away, not running. 1 second she was there, the next puff empty road. I should have turned back, called someone. Anything. But I kept driving, told myself I was tired, told myself it was just my mind playing tricks in the rain. But deep down, I knew better. About 5 miles later, the storm got worse. Like biblical worse. Thunder cracked so hard it shook the cab. Lightning lit up the road in flashes, like a strobe light showing the outline of those jagged Appalachian trees and twisted telephone poles. I was easing around a sharp curve when the headlights hit something up ahead of car. An old 1970s-style sedan parked sideways across both lanes like it had spun out. No hazard lights, no movement. I hit the brakes hard and veered into the shoulder to avoid a collision. Rain pounded the windshield as I stopped. I waited. No one came out of the car. I flipped on my hazards and grabbed my flashlight. Protocol says you don't leave someone stranded in the middle of the road like that, especially in weather like this. I approached the car slowly, boots splashing through puddles, flashlight beam jittering from the wind. When I got to the driver's side, the door was wide open. The inside was empty. No blood, no signs of struggle, no keys in the ignition. Just water dripping onto old leather seats and something else, a child's toy. A plastic doll lying face down on the passenger side floor. Pale arms, no eyes. I stepped back and scanned the woods with the flashlight. That's when I heard it crying, soft, childlike, coming from the trees. I don't scare easy, but something about that sound chilled me more than the rain ever could. I backed away, got in my cab, locked the doors, and radioed the highway patrol. No response. Static. No cell signal either. It's just no service in big letters on my phone. I checked the GPS again. My location had disappeared. The screen was just a spinning circle. It's trying to load. That's when I noticed the time. 11:34 p.m. The same time I saw the woman on the road. Same time now. It hadn't changed. I put the truck in gear and started rolling, hoping to find a signal or a town. I must have driven 10 more miles and saw nothing. No lights, no other cars, no signs. Just endless forest on either side, and that unrelenting rain. Then I saw at a bridge. Old wooden, covered in moss. Looked like it hadn't been used in decades. But the road led straight onto it. I slowed down. My gut screamed at me to stop. There was nowhere else to go. No room to turn around. Not on that narrow 2-lane. So I eased onto the bridge. Halfway across, the truck jolted. Hard like I'd run over something massive. I slammed the brakes and checked the mirrors, nothing there. Then, the interior lights blinked, and my radio came to life. You should have stopped for her. It was a voice I didn't recognize. Cold, hollow, female. I turned off the radio completely. Didn't help. The voice came through the speakers again. She's still waiting. I threw the rig into gear and crossed the bridge, tires slipping on the wet planks. On the other side, the road split in two. No signs, no lights, no directions, just two endless tunnels of blackened trees. Then the engine stalled. I turned the key. Nothing. Tried again, just a click. The lights went dark. The rain kept pouring. And something moved outside the driver's side window. I grabbed the flashlight and pointed it out. She was back, the woman in the white gown. Only this time, she was closer. right up against the truck. Her eyes weren't there, just black, empty sockets. No. Her mouth was open in a silent scream. She placed her palm against the window, and the glass fogged instantly. A cold vapor poured through the seams of the door and filled the cab. I reached for the handle to lock it. Too late, the door opened on its own. Rain and wind blasted inside. Flashlight fell, flickering on the floor. I scrambled to close the door, but something held it open. She was crawling up, crawling into the cab. I swear to God, her limbs didn't move like a human's should. They bent backward, bones cracked with every motion. I kicked at her, but she didn't react. She reached for my face with both hands, whispering something fast, ancient, like a prayer or a curse. That's when the world went dark. When I came to, it was morning. Bright sky, birds chirping. My truck was parked on the side of a clean paved highway. No bridge, no forks in the road, no storm. Just .com. I checked the dash clock. 7:14 a.m. Checked the logs on the truck's computer. Nothing recorded past 11:34 p.m. Like, the whole night never happened. The cab was dry. No trace of the woman. No fog on the windows. Not even my flashlight. But in the cup holder was that plastic doll. Same one from the car, only now it had eyes. 2 tiny black eyes staring up at me. I got the hell out of there. Didn't stop until I reached a pilot station an hour north. Asked around. No one had ever heard of Hollow Creek County. Checked maps. Searched old databases. Nothing. It doesn't exist. And the strangest part is that entire stretch of Highway 20. It was closed that night. Washed out from a landslide the day before. No one was supposed to be driving there. Every entrance had been barricaded. So where the hell did I go? That was 9 years ago. I've taken hundreds of trips since, seen all kinds of crazy things on the road, but nothing like that night. And every time it rains hard on the highway, I check the clock, and if I ever see 11:34 p.m. again, I won't keep driving, I'll stop, because she's still out there, waiting. Thanks for listening, if you've got the courage. Leave a comment below and let me know if you've ever driven through Hollow Creek. But if you haven't, don't try to find it. Some places aren't on any map, for a reason. The passenger in the back seat tonight? I've got a story that'll make you think twice about driving alone at night, especially on those long, empty stretches of road where it's just you, the car, and the dark. I know we all do it. But something happened to me in 2021 that I haven't been able to shake since. I've never told anyone this. Not because I didn't want to, but because even thinking about it makes my skin crawl. I was driving home alone one night when I realized I wasn't alone at all. So, let me give you the setup. It was early September. I live in southern Ohio, and I'd gone to visit my sister out in Kentucky. Left her place around 11:30 p.m., no big deal. Just a 2-hour drive back to my place. I'd made that drive plenty of times before, mostly through rural areas, winding back roads and a bit of highway. Honestly, I love driving at night. Roads are quiet, music sounds better. You get into a kind of rhythm. That night was no different. Cool breeze, windows cracked, black coffee in the cup holder. I remember I was listening to an old rock playlist, Tom Petty, or maybe the Eagles. Felt peaceful, at least at first. I was about 40 minutes into the drive when I took a turn off the highway onto Route 328. It's one of those narrow, 2-lane roads with no shoulder, lined with thick trees on both sides, no streetlights. Just the occasional reflective marker and whatever your headlights can catch. As soon as I hit that road, my cell signal dropped. Not a big deal, happens every time. But this time, the air felt different. Like heavier. You ever get that feeling when it's dead quiet, but you know something's not right? I brushed it off. Drove another 15 minutes. Then something happened. I heard something in the back seat. Now, I drive a 2014 Ford Fusion. Solid car. It's pretty quiet inside. But there was this soft, shuffle-like fabric brushing against fabric. Real subtle. I figured maybe something rolled off the passenger seat and landed in the back. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just darkness. I kept driving. Another 5 minutes go by, and then I heard it again. Closer. This time it wasn't just a shuffle. It was like breathing. Shallow, raspy breathing. It was coming from directly behind me. Now I don't scare easy. But this wasn't some creaky seat or air pressure thing. This was the sound of someone exhaling, just inches from the back of my head. I flipped the dome light on with a quick press, glanced in the rear view again. Still nothing. Back seat was empty. At least, it looked empty. I told myself I was being paranoid, turned the music up, tried to push through. But the second I killed the dome light, the breathing came back. Louder. Like it was leaning forward now. Like it was right behind my seat. I glanced again. I swear on everything I caught the outline of a face in the rearview mirror. Just a flash. Gone the second I really focused. I pulled over, put the car in park, hit the hazard lights, and spun around with my flashlight empty. Just the back seat. My duffel bag. A half-drunk bottle of water. No face. No figure. Nothing. I told myself I needed sleep. Maybe I was just tired. But when I turned back to the driver's seat, there was a handprint on the inside of the rear window. Small, smudged, like a child's hand, pressed from the inside. I hadn't rolled my windows down. I sure as hell didn't let anyone in. I got back on the road a little shaken, but determined to make it home. Well, the road ahead was pitch black, and that's when the radio started acting up. I was maybe 20 minutes from home, and my rock playlist just cut off, and this low-frequency static took over. Not loud, just like a hum, with bits of whispering mixed in. I tried switching stations, nothing, just static and whispers. Then the whispers got clearer. They were saying my name, Ben, over and over, soft but steady. Now, I've never heard voices before, never had a mental episode. I've been tested. I don't scare easy. But I swear on my mother's grave, that radio was calling me. I reached down to shut it off, and I heard something behind my ear, clear as day. A woman's voice. Don't turn around. I froze. Didn't even breathe. She whispered again. Don't turn around. I sat there stiff, hands still over the radio dial, afraid to move. Then I felt it. Cold fingers on the back of my neck. Not like air, not like nerves. I mean physical fingers, just resting there gently. Almost like they were studying me. I couldn't take it anymore. I swerved the car to the side of the road again, this time near an old gas station that had long since been boarded up. Just an empty lot, rusted pump, busted sign. I jumped out of the car and spun around with my flashlight. Back seat, empty. No signs, no footprints. No condensation. But as I stood there, trying to slow my breathing, I heard the rear door click shut. I never opened it, and it was locked before I got out. I jumped back in, turned the ignition in. The dashboard screen was frozen. It had one message in bold, red letters. She's with you. Then it flickered and went black. No more radio, no lights. Just the sound of my heart and the faint rustle of leaves. I looked back again, still no one there. But this time, I felt her. Like she was inside my skin. I put the car in drive and floored it. Didn't look back again. Didn't stop. Just kept going. Somehow the headlights stayed on. Somehow the car kept moving. I made it home in record time. Parked in my driveway. Sprinted to the front door. Didn't even look behind me until I was inside. Locked every door and turned on every light. My phone suddenly buzzed back to life. Signal returned. Missed call. 12 a.m. From my own number. I checked the voicemail. There was one recording. It was my own voice, distorted, whispering. She's still in the car. The next morning, I went out to check the car in daylight. Nothing. No handprint. No damage. Radio worked fine, but the back seat smelled like perfume. Old, flowery, like something from your grandma's dresser, and lying on the seat. A single lock of jet black hair tied with red thread. I don't have black hair. I still have that lock, sealed in a plastic bag in a drawer, because I can't bring myself to throw it out. Feels like if I do, I'll invite her back. I never drove that road again. I even sold that car a few months later. But sometimes when I drive alone at night, I'll hear breathing behind me, soft, familiar. And sometimes I feel those fingers just resting on my neck. Thanks for listening. And if you've ever had a passenger you didn't remember picking up, maybe check your mirrors a little more carefully. Stay safe out there. The village that wasn't there. Hey folks, tonight's story isn't something I heard secondhand, and this one happened to me and my best friend. Kyle, we were running a late haul through Kentucky in 2019, what should have been a smooth overnight. Trip ended with us swearing never to drive through that region again. This story's about a village we found on the map. No one else can. Kyle and I had been trucking together for a couple of years. You know how it is, company rigs. 2 drivers swapping shifts on long runs. That night we were hauling a trailer of steel pipes from Louisville to a plant just outside Knoxville, Tennessee. We left around 7 p.m., weather clear, the roads mostly empty. About an hour into the trip, we hit a detour off I-75. Some kind of road construction backed up traffic for miles. Our GPS rerouted us down a smaller state road, then onto this cracked blacktop that led deeper into the woods. The road name popped up as Ashridge Hollow Road. Neither of us had ever heard of it. Kyle was driving at the time, sipping a coffee, music playing low on the dash. I was in the passenger seat, half awake and scrolling through my phone, just trying to keep him company. Then we saw the sign, a weathered wooden post on the right side of the road, barely legible in the headlights. It read, "Welcome to Dagger Hill EST. 1887 population, scratched off." There was no town on the GPS, no Dagger Hill, just a road stretching ahead into trees and fog. This must be one of those forgotten mining towns, Kyle muttered. Still, the sign gave me a weird feeling. I remember saying, "This place feels dead." He just laughed. "It is dead. Look around." The next stretch of road had no lights, no buildings. It's just trees, thick and bent inward, like they were leaning in to listen. Then suddenly houses, tiny old wooden homes lining the sides of the road, crooked and falling apart. A small church with a broken steeple, a general store with boarded windows. All of it looked frozen, like no one had touched this place in 50 years. And yet lights flickered in a few of the windows, faint, like lanterns. Kyle slowed the truck. "You see that?" I nodded. "No way, this place has electricity." That's when we noticed the figures. People, standing completely still on the porches. Watching us pass, no movement, no blinking, just staring. Every house, every step, silent eyes following us as we rolled through. "Want me to speed up?" Kyle asked. "Voice lower now?" "Hell yes," I replied. He hit the gas. That's when the truck died. Engine sputtered, headlights flickered, power drained like we'd unplugged the entire rig from the world. Kyle cursed and slammed the brakes. We coasted to a dead stop in front of what looked like a diner. Complete silence. No rain, no crickets. Even the music on the stereo was gone. And then the clock on the dash blinked. From 9:47 p.m. to 12 o'clock. Kyle stared at it, then turned the key again. Nothing. I was about to call for roadside assistance when I looked up at the diner. There was a woman standing inside, behind the glass. Her face was lit from below by a lantern on the counter. She was wearing a blood-stained apron and holding, I swear, a meat cleaver. She smiled. Kyle didn't see her at first. He was busy checking the fuse box. I grabbed his arm and pointed. By the time he looked, she was outside, 10 feet closer, still smiling. I grabbed the door handle locked. She took a step forward. We heard a soft tap tapped up on the passenger side window. I turned. A boy, pale, hollow eyes, holding a doll made of burlap. He whispered, "Don't stay here." Cal cursed again and pounded the dash. The engine roared to life. Without hesitation, he floored it. The rig skidded as we pulled away, tires spitting gravel and dust. As we accelerated through the rest of the village, I saw them all come off their porches, dozens of them. Men, women, children, all walking into the road behind us. No emotion, just watching us leave. We drove until we reached a junction that fed us back onto a main state road. Kyle was sweating. I was shaking. We stopped at a gas station about 10 miles later. There were people inside, music playing, and everything felt normal. Like reality had turned back on. We asked the clerk if she knew anything about a town called Dagger Hill. She gave us a blank look. "There's no town like that around here." Pulled up Google Maps. The area we'd driven through was labeled National Forest. No roads, no structures. No Ashridge Hollow Road, no Dagger Hill, just trees. I figured we must have been tired, hallucinating something, but the rig's dashboard, camera Kyle had wired it to record, automatically might have caught something. We waited until our next stop, then plugged it in to check the footage. The camera showed us driving the whole route. talking, passing the sign, entering the town, and static. A 15-minute chunk of the video was corrupted to exactly the time we'd spent inside the village. The last frame before it cut. The woman in the apron standing directly in front of the windshield, her face distorted like it had been stretched on the tape. We submitted a report to our carrier that the truck had stalled and needed inspection. They found nothing wrong with it. Battery, starter, engine, all fine, like the thing had just shut itself off for no reason. The shop manager joked, "Maybe she just didn't like where you parked." Kyle didn't laugh. "We haven't talked much about it since. Not in detail. We never took that route again. Even left that job not long after and moved on to different companies. But every now and then I'll get this itch. I'll pull up that area on my map again. Still no Dagger Hill. Still no Ashridge Hollow Road. But every once in a while my GPS will glitch. The screen flickers. And a new route appears in red. Via Dagger Hill, 12 minutes faster? I don't take it. Neither should you. Thanks for listening. And remember, just because your GPS shows a road doesn't mean it's still part of the living world. Stay safe out there, drivers.